welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin and welcome to the vehicle that Biggie Smalls would be driving today. Well, he would be driving like a brand new 2021, but you get what I mean. Because Biggie used to be chauffeured around in a lot of Lexus products, basically, whether you knew about that or not. His preference of choice for being chauffeured around in New York was a Lexus LX, I believe, at the time. So something to note. And we have a 2008 LX 570 here. It was redesigned for 08 in the middle of a recession. So that was nice when gas was about $4 a gallon. So good timing for a vehicle that gets about 12 in the city and 18 on the highway. So nice job there. But regardless of that, who do we have to thank for this little opportunity? It is none other than Cary Imports. So I'm going to be leaving all of their information down below if you want to buy this supreme automobile, that is. And I'm really checking this out because, well, I used to own the 08 LS 460 and I absolutely was just so fond of that vehicle, loved driving that thing. And I want to see if this vehicle actually grabs some of that magic. I kind of know if it will or not because I've already done a review on a 2001 or 2002 LX 470, I believe. So I'm going to leave a link down to that review down below. But let's go ahead. First of all, let's talk about the looks of this vehicle because the looks have changed for 08. They have started to adopt more of this L-finesse, L-shaped grille thing, basically, is what Lexus used to call it back in the day. I'm going to leave a link down to a Club Lexus post that somebody made. He actually copied and pasted the original press sheet or whatever with all the new information for the 08 Lexus when it first came out, so you can read up on that. But this vehicle is meant to be like an 8-seater version of an LS, and we're going to find that out if it kind of has that type of quality to it. See about that engine. Silky, as I expected. But the looks of this vehicle, it is classic. I do enjoy looking at this vehicle. This is it's got a meaty look to it. Obviously, it's based upon the Land Cruiser, of course. It's more of a luxury take on the Land Cruiser, and it's got a substantial look to it. In fact, this was highly regarded even by car magazines at the time. So let's get more into the driving dynamics because you can let me know in the comment section how you like or dislike the looks of this vehicle. So driving wise, okay, 5.7 liter V8 engine produces 383 horsepower and about 403 pounds-feet of torque, and that is a 42% increase in power compared to the 4.7 liter V8 found in the Lexus LX 470, something to keep in mind. And it now utilizes a brand new 6-speed automatic, well, brand new for the time anyway. And this transmission, it went through the same rigorous inspection process that the LS 460 transmissions went through because obviously it was a brand new transmission, so it had to go through some new inspections, if you will, to make sure that this meets Lexus's requirements of a quality transmission, of course. And as we know now today, this drivetrain is bulletproof, so you got nothing to worry about there. Wow, I'm surprised people are actually looking at this vehicle. It is a pretty big baller SUV, I'm not gonna lie. You do feel like 50 Cent, or I'm sorry, you feel like Biggie Smalls pulling up in it. Even though he was getting chauffeured, you're actually gonna be driving it. So either way, driving it, being chauffeured in it, you do feel like a pretty big pimp in here. So that's nice, I do like that. Representing that hip hop culture, right? Okay, so back to the driving dynamics here. Suspension was completely reworked. Obviously the chassis resides upon that, body on frame construction, and they actually maintained this body structure for not only rigidity purposes but also for refinement purposes as well, to reduce NVH and to absorb bumps a little bit better. Let's really stomp on it here. Okay, not bad. It effortlessly gets up to speed. That's not really an issue. It's not like the fastest thing in the world or anything like that, but it does deceptively get up to speed for sure. Makes a good meaty tone to the V8 engine as well when you do stomp on it. So it just effortlessly glides about. It is a very quiet vehicle. I'm doing an excellent speed right now, and it just doesn't seem like it on camera, but yeah, this thing is doing a pretty excellent job. Yeah, high speed stability is tremendous here. Confidence was a huge thing that they really worked on with these vehicles. They want to continue that luxurious experience, but a comfortable and refined one as well. And along with the upgraded rigidity of the chassis and all that, the suspension was retweaked as well. So the suspension was designed to give you 30% less roll essentially in the corners compared to the LX 470. And so far, you know, I haven't really done too many handling tests here, but I will in a moment. But this does feel a lot more sturdier to drive than the LX 470 does. There's like this level of smoothness. There's like this level of butter slathered across everything, from the motor to the steering response to the suspension. Everything has like this buttery nature to it, and I do absolutely love that. And I am shocked at just how many people are actually looking at this thing. I drive some fancy cars and they hardly even get this much attention. That's kind of shocking to me. I mean, it is a behemoth out on the road here. And speaking of behemoth, this thing weighs about 6,000 pounds. So don't let Lexus's marketing fool you. You know, they talk about, oh, we use all those lightweight materials and stuff. It's still like 6,000 pounds. And do you feel that weight? Well, I mean, you know, I'll bend a few corners here briefly. I mean, even though you feel it, like, they did a decent job masking it. And I think 0 to 60 was about 6.7 seconds at the time. So it was actually one of the fastest SUVs during the time in this class. I mean, it actually matched the GLS 450 of the time. So that was the only other vehicle that was this quick. And it was faster than the Audi Q7 with the V8. And it was faster than the Infiniti QX56, whatever it was called. But most importantly, it's just buttery, isolated, smooth, quiet, and effortlessly quick. That's what matters here. Brakes were also upgraded from the LX 470. It's got like 13.4-inch rotors in the front, I believe. It does stop on a dime, I will give it that. But this vehicle, most importantly, you do have confidence here. Like when you're driving at higher speeds or when you're turning in this thing, it never feels like it's gonna flip over on its side or anything like that. There's really hardly any compromises to driving something like this. And it does actually kind of retain some of the LS 460 qualities. It does feel similar to an LS 460, except you're just sitting up higher in this vehicle. So that is a very impressive trait that they've been able to pull off here. It does feel like a proper luxury vehicle. Again, brakes, tons of confidence here. It's not an issue. Granted, the LX 470 brakes weren't bad either, but I'm just saying. And you can actually put the suspension into the sport mode, and you kind of put into like this power mode here. Let's see how all that stuff reacts. Some people have said that the suspension doesn't really make a difference when you adjust it, but you know, I'll see about that. There's definitely a immediacy now in the drivetrain. Damn, it is deceptively quick. There's a good surge of power here. It's not the fastest thing in the world or anything like that, but damn, it's pretty good though. The feeling of it is good. Let's see here. I'm going to test more of that handling here, but so far it's been isolating the bumps extremely well. It's got 20-inch wheels on it, so that was an upgrade. So the previous LX 470s, the OEM tire size, the wheel size was 18 inches with 275 wide tires. They actually upgraded it to 285s with the 20-inch wheels in all four corners. But this particular vehicle's got Michelin Defender LTX tires, which is excellent. Very quiet, very smooth, love that. And it's also got 275 tires. So the previous owner decided to give it 275 tires in all four corners. So I actually do approve of that. You know, skinnier tires is good because this thing's got full-time four-wheel drive essentially, and that means it's got grip for days, so it doesn't need super wide tires or anything like that. And that will reduce some of that tire noise as well because it's got a skinnier set of tires. So yeah, in terms of soaking up the bumps, there's not really a difference between sport and comfort, but I do notice the vehicle getting a little bit better in terms of handling though, but it still continues to soak up bumps really well. Let's see, testing out that handling here. Definitely rolling hard in the corners here, but that's to be expected with the size and the weight, but nobody's gonna be chucking a vehicle like this like that. Tremendous. Yeah, this is very good. So handling, yeah, when you absolutely push it to its maximum limits, the maximum limits are not good. Don't try to, it never provokes you to take it to its absolute limits anyway, but this is best used as a leisurely cruiser, but I'm just saying. Now that was a terrible bump I just went over. Even in the sport suspension, it soaked that up beautifully. But even though the comfort mode doesn't do a better job of soaking up the bumps, I have noticed in sport mode it does feel a little bit more taut. It does feel like it handles slightly a little bit better in the sport mode, so it's not a complete waste actually. I actually would not mind driving the sport mode more often, but with the power mode, it does feel a little bit more immediate. It's kind of like out of character for a vehicle like this. I do like the power mode to be in regular. That is good. But despite it being a gargantuan vehicle, it's actually rather easy to drive. I mean, I said this about the Tundra as well. They all feel like large vehicles, but it's rather easy to pilot around. And so it's very effortless in that regards. And obviously I didn't talk too much about it because it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you can basically cross rivers in this vehicle. You can climb Mount Everest, go up the Eiffel Tower backwards. I mean, that's not an issue here. But the thing is, though, you're never going to be doing that. The maximum amount of off-roading that you're going to be doing is jumping a curb at Nordstrom's, you know, when you pull up in this thing, or Whole Foods. So that's going to be the reality of this. But now, overall thoughts, man, this is just hyper smooth, no problems at all driving this vehicle. It is just so damn plush. I mean, despite all the locking diffs and all the handling characteristics that this thing has, that's not, I don't actually really care about that. That's just marketing to help the vehicle sell. What really matters is, has this captured that LS 460 quality? Absolutely. This thing does deserve flagship, you know, praise, basically. It's got that flagship quality to it. It's got that $75K price tag demeanor to it, and that's exactly what this thing costed when it was brand new. It was about $73,000. So it was worth the price tag. It's worth about $21,000 now with this dealership, so something to keep in mind. These things do hold their value extremely well, and yeah, this vehicle does have about 167,000 miles on it, so pretty impressive there. So with all that established, let's go ahead and let's get into this interior now. All right, so now that we are done driving this vehicle, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior, because really driving-wise, there's hardly any cons other than at-limit handling not being the best and the fuel economy sucking. The interior, I mean, there's really not much to complain about here either, because in typical Lexus fashion, it has aged extremely well. Not perfectly, but for a vehicle of this age and this mileage, I'm going to forgive it. Obviously, it's been sitting on the sun for a little bit, but let's talk about it. Interior, I mean, unless you really just try to apply pressure onto some of these materials here, I mean, this thing never creaks or rattles. It just rides too soft for the panels to be unsettled, essentially. So even with all these miles, it still continues to feel solid like all the other Lexus vehicles. So, and I like the design of it. It actually aged flawlessly. I mean, this is basically, a lot of people complain that this is basically the same interior that you get in the new models, but because of that, they age gracefully. It's just classically laid out, you know, typical Lexus Toyota fashion. It's got great ergonomics here as well. Everything's easy to access. So I don't like how the climate control is actually implemented with the touchscreen here. You get the temperature readout separate, but for the fan speeds, things like that, the direction of the fans, you do have to utilize this touchscreen for those purposes. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Fortunately, everything still works great here. You got heated and cooled seats for the front, and those cooled seats definitely do work. You have a physical handbrake here, you know, for the off-road junkies that is not going to be used for that purpose. That is nice to have. This thing's got the Mark Levinson audio system. Okay, 19 speakers. Standard, I believe you get 9 speakers. So how does this Mark Levinson sound? It's not bad. I mean, it sounds okay. It's not like the most awe-inspiring thing I've ever heard of, but, you know, it gets the job done. You do have a CD player, of course, and aux connectivity as well. You also have use of double pane glass in just the front windows here. So the rear windows are not double pane, they're just regular glass, but it does continue to be very silent in here. I do like that there's hardly any wind noise, hardly any tire noise, because this vehicle has those amazing Michelin tires on there. You got 3-way memory seats, one-touch automatic window switches for all 4 windows. That is a great touch there. Good amount of space in the door pockets as well. I will say some of this leather feels a little bit rubbery, but it hasn't started to deteriorate yet. And this is that kind of beige interior, so not bad as a whole. Doors feel very solid. I do like that. Automatic headlights, which is a nice thing to see. You do have navigation built into this particular model as well. And the touchscreen, I mean, it works okay. It responds okay, but for the things to actually appear on the menu, like when you press up against it, you really have to, you know, press solidly. It's not like a soft press thing. So something I noticed, you really have to, you know, let the system know that you touch something. But as a touchscreen, it does respond decently well and is reasonably easy to understand. push button start. I do like the gauge cluster. It's got a very well integrated coolant temps, gas gauge right there, oil temps. I mean, they look extremely nice, and the speedometer, tachometer, very easy to understand. You do have that little helper screen in the middle. So I do like the way that's laid out. Again, classic. Everything here is aged extremely well, and you got some more controls right here. Traction control off, all the good stuff. You want to have fun with that. Again, 6-speed automatic, responds extremely well, but you have a traditional kind of shifter here, and you could put in the manual mode, but not really necessary. The auto reacts perfectly. Center armrest space is gargantuan. Now you do have a tray here in the middle. You have to remove that to get maximum access to the center armrest, so that is nice. I think refrigerators and such was a possibility to get with this vehicle, but this vehicle has the most important upgrade, which is the Mark 11s, and I think a lot of people are going to like that. Steering wheel, classic, got a few buttons, but easy to access. And you are grip and grain here, of course, it is nice. And speaking of wood grain, I mean, some of this has started to come off a little bit here. It's the main kind of con I've noticed around the heated and cooled seating button. So watch out for that. Kind of needs to be glued back on there. It's interesting. One layer of that wood has just kind of come off, so that's kind of funny. Now let's talk about the seats. So seats are beige, they are leather, and they have aged for the most part extremely well for a vehicle of this age and mileage. So no problems there, and they have continued to be extremely comfortable, no problems, and could fit a variety of body types, so that is nice as well. Now let's talk about the rear seats. So the rear seats, so this is really the main compromises I have found with this vehicle. So this is where it kind of loses out to something like an LS 460 in terms of maximum quality and comfort for the passengers, because yeah, the headroom is good and even the legroom is fine, but now you have an interesting issue here because it's like this body on frame, off-road ready vehicle. Like the load floor is really high up, so now the passengers, like grown adults, like your knees are sitting up really high, and it's just kind of an unnatural feeling. In the front seats it's fine, but in the rear it's just kind of strange. But hey, you do have heated seats in the back as well. Again, it's got all the great luxury touches and features here. I also forgot to mention it's got some nice safety features as well, like pre-collision assist and parking sensors as well, and you also even have a backup camera. But anyway, back to the rear seats. Yeah, I mean, the seats are comfortable, but again, that load floor is just strange for adults, and you do have your own climate control back there, no problem. It's a lot of things going on back there, and you can electronically adjust the seats back there. You can move them forward and back electronically, and then you can recline them as well manually. So, I mean, it's interesting. And then the third row seat, so Lexus at the time claims that this has more space than a Cadillac Escalade in the third row. But again, the same issue continues. Your knees are like up against your face when you sit back there. So yeah, I can technically fit in the third row, but it's just kind of compromised. But yeah, you can't put adults in here. I mean, they do fit. So something to keep in mind though. And when you have the third row up, your trunk space is significantly going to be impacted. You have no real trunk space back there, so that's kind of what sucks. You do need to fold down those third row seats to get the maximum out of this vehicle in terms of hauling capability. So something I noticed, this is best used as a 5-seater. Now I have actually done a review on a 2020 Infiniti QX80, I believe, and that vehicle has like the exact same setup as this. Like your knees are up against your face, and you have to definitely fold down the third row to get the most amount of practicality out of it. The new Tahoes and the new Escalades, like those vehicles, they are the least compromised third row vehicles with plenty of space in the trunk, all that stuff. But that's a 2021 vehicle. This Lexus, okay, now on to the conclusions here. This Lexus has managed to be an incredible driving experience back in 08. And the new Tahoes are praised for being an amazing driving experience. It's plush, it's practical, all that stuff. But the Lexus has been doing this shit since like 13 years ago. So decent driving dynamics, smoothness, buttery, and very reliable as well. But again, I would stress you to get a warranty with this because it does have a very advanced suspension setup. It's got a lot of electronics, surprisingly. So this is a flagship 75K vehicle. Please do get a warranty with it. That's why I do these reviews at Cary Imports. So again, I'm going to leave all of their information down below in the description box. You can hit them up if you're interested in purchasing this. But thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.